Marcus Thorne stared at the handful of crumpled bills, a heavy sigh escaping him. His business account, Thorne Hauling, echoed as empty as the rain-soaked depot outside, yet his pride remained an unyielding fortress against the encroaching despair. Outside, Marcus ran a calloused hand over the worn chrome of his semi-truck, its faded, Thorne Hauling sticker a testament to a dream still fighting. "We'll get there, old girl," he murmured, his breath fogging the damp night air. "A fleet of 'em one day, just gotta keep pushing." The physical ache in his shoulders was a small price for the vision burning within him. Inside the diner, the fluorescent lights buzzed like an angry wasp. Marcus sipped his lukewarm coffee, trying to ignore Rick, another trucker, at the next booth. Small-time dreamers always end up charity cases. Rick sneered to a companion, loud enough to be heard. "Trying to go it alone? He'll be lucky if he keeps that old rust bucket." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he kept his gaze fixed on the swirling patterns in his cup, refusing to dignify the jab. The bus depot manager, Mr. Henderson, a man whose patience was as thin as his hair, tapped a pen on his desk. "Marcus, your parking fees are overdue, and that contract renewal for the South Route is coming up fast. Can't afford any more delays." Marcus nodded, a polite but firm mask concealing the knot of anxiety in his stomach. "Understood, Mr. Henderson. I'll handle it." But the deadline loomed, a predator in his periphery. Back in his truck cab, the engine off, Marcus unzipped his lunch bag. Only half a sandwich remained, saved from earlier. He sighed, the pang of hunger a familiar companion. He gently folded the sandwich back into its wrapper. Fuel for the truck was more critical than fuel for him tonight. He'd need every drop for the next job, if it came. Marcus, already weighed down by anxieties, noticed her. Huddled on a solitary bench, she was a small, frail figure, swallowed by the bus depot's dim, flickering lights. Shadows made her seem even smaller, her worn coat a landscape of creases. She clutched a threadbare bag, radiating a profound sense of loss that cut through the stale air. A quiet curiosity stirred in Marcus, overriding his exhaustion. He hesitated, then approached. "Ma'am? Everything all right?" he asked gently. The woman slowly looked up, her eyes wide and unfocused. "Oh, I seem to have lost my way," she stammered, her voice thin. "My wallet, gone. Can't recall my bus details." She wrung her trembling hands, appearing frail. Marcus felt a familiar pull of empathy. Despite the gnawing emptiness, Marcus knew. "Come on, ma'am. Let's get you something warm." At the diner counter, he pulled out his wallet, the crumpled bills for a truck part. He ordered steaming stew and bread. "Please, eat," he insisted. Eleanor, her confused eyes keenly observing, took the spoon. Marcus quietly tucked his nearly empty wallet away. Outside, the rain drizzled. Eleanor, fortified, mentioned her broken-down car stranded miles away. Marcus's mind raced. His one spare tire, a critical lifeline. Giving it away risked a missed deadline, another financial blow. But leaving her stranded, helpless, clinched it. "I've got a spare," he offered, moving towards his truck, the decision's weight heavy. He called a taxi, then helped the elderly woman secure the heavy spare tire. As she settled in, Eleanor turned. Her eyes, now sharp and piercing, met Marcus's. A faint, knowing smile touched her lips. "Kindness finds its way back, young man," she said, her voice carrying surprising depth. Marcus simply nodded, unaware of the profound truth. He watched the taxi pull away. Back in his cab, engine off, Marcus leaned back. The silence amplified the cold reality. The meal, the lost tire, a significant setback. His next job, precarious, now hung by a thread. He ran a calloused hand over his face, further behind than ever. Yet, as dawn painted the sky, Marcus felt no regret. His integrity remained. Marcus stood before Big Mike, the burly mechanic, his gaze fixed on a monstrous tire leaning against the grease-stained wall. "Just need a decent used one, Mike. Something to get me through." Big Mike shook his head, wiping his hands on a rag. "Ain't got nothing decent in that size, Marcus. Special order. And it ain't cheap. 2 days, maybe 3, if I rush it." Marcus's hand instinctively went to his pocket. feeling the meager crumpled bills. 2 days. 3. His next delivery was tomorrow. His heart sank. Later that day, the fluorescent lights of Mr. Henderson's office felt harsh. "Marcus," the depot manager began, a regretful frown creasing his brow, "about that new hauling contract with your equipment being unreliable right now. We had to go with another company." Marcus felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. "Mr. Henderson, I can get that tire. I just need a little more time." Henderson sighed, shaking his head. "Time is money, Marcus, and this business, it doesn't wait." The unsigned contract lay between them, a tombstone for a lost opportunity. Marcus left the office, shoulders slumped, the weight of Henderson's words pressing down on him. As he walked down the hallway, Rick, leaning against a vending machine, snickered, loud enough to ensure Marcus heard. "Told you, Cole, kindness doesn't pay the bills. Look where your charity got you." Marcus's jaw tightened. He clenched his fists, knuckles whitening, but he didn't turn. What was the point? He just kept walking, his eyes fixed on the exit, the insult burning deep. Back in his small apartment, the phone felt heavy in Marcus's hand. "Everything's great, Ma," he said, forcing a cheerful note into his voice. "Thorne Hauling is picking up. Plenty of work." His mother's voice, though warm, held a subtle thread of worry. "You sound tired, son. You sure you're eating right?" He promised to visit soon, his voice strained. A lie for her peace of mind. He hung up, running a weary hand over his face. A faded family photo on the shelf, a silent testament to the burden he carried. A stark white envelope waited in his mailbox. Marcus knew what it was before he even saw the bold red letters. "Pan notice note." His hands trembled as he tore it open. The words blurred into a single terrifying threat. Repossession within days. Days. Not weeks, not months. Days. His truck, his dream, everything he had poured his soul into, was about to be snatched away. A wave of ice-cold fear washed over him, leaving him breathless. That evening, Marcus sat in the cab of his truck, the engine off, the silence amplifying his defeat. He stared out at the dimly lit bus depot, the rain a soft, mournful drum against the windshield. He didn't notice the figure on a distant bench, a seemingly confused elderly woman, her small bag clutched tightly. Eleanor Vance, in a slightly different disguise, watched him from the shadows. Her eyes, once lost, were now piercing, assessing every slumped line of his posture. She blended into the backdrop as a bus pulled in. Morning broke with a metallic taste in Marcus's mouth, a stark reminder of the repossession notice tucked beneath his visor. He knew the truck was likely gone, but he wouldn't let it go unkempt. With a worn rag, he meticulously polished the chrome bumper, each swipe a quiet defiance. "They can take the truck, but they can't take my pride. Thorne Hauling might be a dream deferred, but it's still my dream." The sun glinted off the shining metal, reflecting a determined glint in his eye. Back at the bus depot diner, Marcus nursed a small, lukewarm coffee. He'd barely had enough change. Then he saw him, a young man, barely older than a boy, with hollow eyes, staring longingly at the pastries. Marcus didn't hesitate. He pushed his last few dollars across the counter. "Get him that apple fritter, please." The young man looked up, startled, then offered a grateful nod. Marcus just offered a tired, kind smile. A pang of hunger quickly overshadowed by a deeper satisfaction. From a dimly lit corner booth, Eleanor Vance, her hair more disheveled, her coat a different shade of worn, watched. She clutched a mug of tea, but her gaze was fixed on Marcus. She saw the empty wallet, the tired smile, the young man's gratitude. Her unreadable expression remained, but her eyes, sharp and assessing, missed nothing. She subtly reached into her oversized handbag, pulling out a small, leather-bound notebook, making a swift, precise note. Later, parked in his truck, Marcus's phone buzzed with an insistent, unfamiliar number. Then again, and again. He knew it was the finance company, the wolves circling. He stared at the glowing screen, the words, "unknown number," blinking like an accusation. What's the point? I have no answers for them. The walls felt like they were closing in, the relentless ring, a physical manifestation of his mounting pressure. With a sigh that carried the weight of his world, he finally silenced the phone, seeking a moment of peace he knew wouldn't last. As dusk settled, Marcus walked through the bus depot waiting area, exhaustion etched into the lines of his face. On a distant bench, the confused elderly woman sat again, seemingly watching the slow rhythm of travelers. He offered a tired nod, a gesture of shared humanity in the quiet hum of the depot. She returned it with a faint, knowing smile that seemed to hold more understanding than any words could convey. Marcus moved on, unaware of the profound depth of her observation. A call came in, a small, urgent hauling job. Marcus's heart leaped. Hope, a fragile thing, flickered. "Yes, I can be there," he started. Then his voice faltered. "The spare tire." Still no spare tire. The words caught in his throat. He couldn't risk it. I can't take it," he finished, deflated. He slammed his hand on the steering wheel. The fleeting hope crushed beneath the harsh reality of his predicament. Pre-dawn, Marcus sat in his cab, watching the fading stars give way to the first light of a new day. This was it. The day his truck was set to be repossessed. A heavy sense of defeat settled over him, but underneath it, a quiet pride. He had chosen kindness, even when it cost him everything. He had stayed true. The distant wail of a siren grew closer. Then, the distinct sound of a police cruiser pulling into the depot parking lot. The morning air in the bus depot parking lot was sharp, but the chill that ran through Marcus Thorne had nothing to do with the weather. A black sedan, gleaming incongruously among the grimy semis, pulled up, followed by a tow truck. Out stepped Mr. Davies, the repossession agent, a man whose face was as devoid of warmth as his crisp suit. Two uniformed police officers flanked him, their presence a cold, undeniable authority. "Mr. Thorne," Davies stated, his voice a flat, official drone, holding up a stack of papers. "We're here regarding the outstanding balance on your vehicle, registration TXL 774. Per the terms of your agreement, we are here to repossess it." Marcus felt the words like a physical blow, a heavy fist to his gut, but he stood his ground, jaw tight. From the corner of his eye, Marcus saw the gathering crowd, depot staff, a few early passengers, and most painfully, other truckers. Rick, leaning against his own polished rig, smirked, his voice carrying clearly across the tarmac. "Told you, Cole. That's what kindness gets you. Giving away tires and food, acting like a saint. It doesn't pay the bills." A ripple of whispers followed, a cruel chorus of validation for Rick's cynicism. The words stung, 1,000 tiny cuts on his already raw spirit. But Marcus refused to meet their eyes. He wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. He fixed his gaze on his truck, the last tangible piece of his dream. Mr. Davies, a flicker of impatience crossing his face, granted Marcus a few minutes to retrieve personal effects. Stepping into the cab of his truck, Marcus's hand instinctively found the worn leather of the steering wheel, his fingers tracing the faint grooves. Each touch was a memory, the roar of the engine on his first solo haul, the sunrise over distant mountains, the quiet pride of seeing Thorne Hauling stenciled on the door. He picked up his faded road map, a dog-eared atlas marking routes he dreamed of taking. This wasn't just metal and machinery. It was the crucible of his ambition, the vessel of his hope. Leaving it felt like leaving a part of himself behind. Outside, the tow truck's engine rumbled to life, a low, guttural growl that reverberated through Marcus's chest. The sound of heavy chains clanking, then the metallic screech as the hitch connected to his truck, was agonizing. It was the sound of his dream being physically torn away, piece by painful piece. Marcus watched, numb, as his beloved semi, the symbol of his hard-won independence, began to lift, slowly, inexorably, from the ground. His face was a mask of defeat, his eyes fixed on the empty space where his future used to be, the point of no return. Just as the tow truck operator was about to engage the final pull, a sudden, unexpected hush fell over the parking lot. A sleek obsidian black limousine glided to a silent halt at the depot entrance, its polished chrome catching the weak morning sun. Behind it, two more identical black SUVs followed, forming an impenetrable convoy. Heads turned, conversations froze mid-sentence. and even the police officers straightened, a flicker of surprise on their stern faces. Marcus, his own despair momentarily forgotten, watched the vehicles with a confused, almost disbelieving stare. The limousine's door swung open with a soft, almost imperceptible hiss. A figure began to emerge, initially obscured by the doorframe, a dark silhouette against the brighter morning beyond. The crowd held its collective breath. The tow truck operator paused, his hand hovering over the controls. Marcus's heart, which had been a leaden weight in his chest, gave a sudden, desperate lurch. A faint, impossible hope, a sliver of light in the overwhelming darkness, stirred within him as he watched, wide-eyed, for the figure to fully step into view. Just as the tow truck's winch began to hum, threatening to lift Marcus's dream from the asphalt, the limousine door swung fully open. A figure emerged, no longer the hunched, confused elderly woman Marcus had fed and helped. This was Eleanor Vance, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, her silver hair styled with understated elegance. Her eyes, once veiled by a feigned disorientation, now gleamed with piercing intelligence, radiating an undeniable authority that silenced the entire depot. Gasps rippled through the stunned onlookers. Rick's triumphant sneer vanished, replaced by a slack-jawed disbelief. Mr. Davies, the repossession agent, visibly stiffened, his professional composure cracking under the unexpected pressure of her presence. Eleanor's gaze, sharp and unwavering, found Marcus, holding it with an intensity that promised more than just a passing encounter. Eleanor's arrival brought the world to a halt around Marcus. Before anyone could speak, a young, impeccably dressed assistant stepped forward from one of the SUVs, handing a thick, leather-bound folder to a bewildered Mr. Davies. "This is for you, Mr. Davies," the assistant stated, his voice calm but firm. "Ms. Eleanor Vance has acquired all outstanding financial obligations related to Thorne Hauling, effective immediately. The repossession is hereby halted. All debts are cleared, and the truck is paid for in full." Mr. Davies stammered, his face pale, fumbling with the documents that declared Eleanor Vance, reclusive heiress and corporate titan, the new stakeholder. A collective murmur rippled through the crowd, a mix of disbelief and awe. Marcus, his breath caught in his chest, felt the impossible weight lift, leaving him lightheaded with a mix of triumph and profound relief. Eleanor turned from the flustered agent, her gaze once again locking onto Marcus. "Mr. Thorne," she began, her voice calm and measured, carrying an authority that needed no volume. "I've been observing this community, looking for individuals worthy of investment, not just financially, but ethically. You see, I believe true wealth lies in character." She gestured to the memory of her ragged disguise. "I presented myself as someone in need, confused and vulnerable. I wanted to see if the kindness I witnessed was genuine, if it would hold even when tested, even when it cost you dearly." Marcus stood speechless, tears beginning to well in his eyes as her words validated every struggle, every sacrifice. "You passed, Mr. Thorne. You passed in ways I never expected." Eleanor's gaze swept across the now silent, shame-faced crowd. The truth, delivered with such quiet power, hit Rick like a physical blow. His face, already pale, flushed a deep crimson. He mumbled something unintelligible, trying to shrink into the gathering crowd. The other truckers who had mocked Marcus now averted their eyes, shuffling their feet, desperate to disappear from Eleanor's piercing gaze and Marcus's silent, dignified presence. The whispers that had once condemned Marcus's generosity now twisted into murmurs of embarrassment and regret. Some even tried to slink away, unable to bear the weight of their own cynicism, their predictions of Marcus's ruin exposed as hollow and cruel. It was a swift, silent justice, a moment of profound catharsis for Marcus, though he offered no visible triumph, only the quiet strength of a man whose integrity had finally been seen. Eleanor turned her back on the shamed onlookers, her focus solely on Marcus. "Your integrity, Mr. Thorne, is a rare commodity. It deserves to not just survive, but to flourish." She stepped closer, her expression softening slightly. "I'm not just paying off your truck. I want to partner with you. I want to fund Thorne Hauling, to acquire a brand new fleet of trucks. Expand your business, spread your vision across this region. Men of your integrity deserve to rise." She extended a hand, not for a handshake, but for a metaphorical offering of the world. Marcus stared, his mind struggling to grasp the immensity of her words, the future she was laying before him. The tears in his eyes finally spilled over, a profound mix of disbelief, gratitude, and overwhelming joy. Marcus, still reeling, felt the world shift beneath his feet. He met Eleanor Vance's gaze, a profound gratitude swelling in his chest. "Thank you," he managed, his voice thick with emotion as he firmly shook her extended hand. It was a handshake that sealed not just a deal, but a destiny. Eleanor's eyes crinkled at the corners. "This is just the beginning, Marcus." He looked from his old, steadfast truck to the vast horizon, a new future, boundless and bright, unfolding before his very eyes. Eleanor's team, already buzzing, began to discuss logistics, the air electric with possibility. Months melted into a whirlwind of growth. Thorne Hauling wasn't just a dream anymore, it was a sprawling reality. A montage of success, sleek, powerful new semi-trucks, gleaming under the sun, bearing the bold Thorne Hauling logo. New employees, diverse and dedicated, moved with purpose. Marcus, now in a crisp uniform, commanded his own spacious office, charts, and plans covering the walls. Eleanor Vance visited occasionally, a silent, knowing presence. She'd offer a brief, warm smile, a nod of quiet satisfaction, before fading back into her private world, leaving Marcus to lead the enterprise she had so generously ignited. The old bus depot, too, had undergone a transformation. Thanks to Eleanor's widespread investments, it was now a bustling hub, renovated and vibrant. Marcus, driving one of his new trucks, pulled in, no longer with a heavy heart, but with a quiet pride. Mr. Henderson, the depot manager, greeted him, his stern face replaced with a respectful smile. "Mr. Thorne." He nodded, a genuine admiration in his eyes. Marcus returned the greeting, humble despite his success, witnessing the ripple effect of his own journey. As Marcus walked through the busy depot, he saw him, Rick, the cynical trucker, now working a humble job cleaning the renovated facilities. Rick's eyes, once full of scorn, darted away, unable to meet Marcus's gaze. There was no need for words, no triumph in Marcus's heart, only a quiet understanding. He offered a small, knowing smile, a subtle acknowledgement that kindness had, indeed, found its way back, and a silent forgiveness for the doubt that had once clouded this very space. Marcus continued walking, head held high, the weight of vindication a gentle breeze at his back. Later, on the open highway, Marcus drove his flagship truck, the hum of the powerful engine, a symphony of earned success. The Thorne Hauling logo gleamed on the side, a beacon of what unwavering integrity could achieve. He thought of the lonely nights, the empty plate, the desperate moments. He thought of Eleanor, and the simple act of giving. His ambition had set him on the road, but it was his kindness, his refusal to let cynicism harden his heart, that had truly fueled his dream. The sun began to dip, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, as Marcus drove towards a horizon that was finally his.